Washington Huskies scored 3 goals in each of their final 3 matches, totaling 9 goals across those games, on their way to claiming the NCAA title. In this analysis, I break down the final to understand where that attacking dominance came from, what worked so well, and whether any weaknesses were still present beneath the results. Washington lined up in a 4-2-3-1 as their base structure, while NC State set up in a 4-3-1-2. Within this tactical context, Charlie Kosakoff emerged as a key attacking figure, finishing the season with 11 goals and 6 assists. NC State applied a high man-oriented press to disrupt Washington's ball progression. As a result, Washington struggled to progress the ball through the central areas. Whenever a player received the ball and attempted to dribble, a pressing trap was immediately triggered and the progression was blocked. Even when Washington tried to bypass this by playing direct passes into the central zone, those attempts were often neutralized by the intensity of NC State's press. Eventually, Washington found a solution in the wide areas. One recurring pattern was advancing quickly by delivering long balls directly to the wingers. In other moments, the goalkeeper identified that the rival shift had collapsed into the central zone and played a fast, driven pass toward the right flank, initiating a counterattack. This sequence followed the same pattern. A defender delivered a long ball directly to a forward positioned high up the pitch. Although the aerial duel was lost, Washington won the second ball. This was largely due to NC State's defenders failing to immediately step in and prepare for the second ball during the aerial duel, which meant their defensive principle was not properly applied. The subsequent rebound from the rival goalkeeper was then quickly attacked by a forward making a late run, resulting in a goal. In counter-attacking situations, Washington maximized the dynamic superiority of their attackers. After regaining possession, they not only broke past defenders through quick dribbling actions, but also deliberately attracted defenders toward the ball carrier. Once space was created, the ball was then played into the path of an attacking runner moving into that space. As a result of these patterns, Washington showed a high level of confidence and speed in their attacking execution during counterattacks, particularly in situations where large spaces were available. This sequence followed a similar pattern. After regaining possession, Washington drew defenders toward the ball carrier and played into the space that was created. A quick penetration followed, and once a 1-versus-1 situation emerged inside the box, the attacker confidently beat the defender and delivered either a cross or a cutback. As a result, the goal was created with relative ease. Overall, Washington showed some shortcomings in their off-the-ball movement and understanding of space. In this sequence, a midfielder played the ball out to a wide attacker, who then confidently initiated a 1-versus-1 isolation. At that moment, the midfielder who delivered the pass moved slowly toward the central area, instead of occupying the open right flank, while another nearby midfielder also failed to make a penetrating run into the half space. As a result, an additional rival defender was able to step out easily to provide cover, creating a 2-versus-1 situation. Washington were ultimately unable to overcome the overload and were forced to play the ball back to a teammate positioned in Zone 14. Although the ball was then delivered toward the edge of the penalty area, the space was already overcrowded with defenders, making it difficult to create a clear shooting angle. The following sequence shows a dribble on the left flank, combined with a wall pass combination. This allowed Washington to enter the deep area with relative ease, but with very limited off-the-ball movement from other players, the ball could only be played into tight spaces. As a result, the attacker was quickly surrounded by multiple defenders. In this sequence as well, a wall pass combination allows Washington to successfully enter the central area from the right flank. At the same time, the supporting player makes a penetrating run toward the right flank, opening space for the initial penetration. However, no further penetrating movements follow. This allows the rival number 3 to narrow the inside space with ease. As a result, due to the lack of space and the failure to draw defenders out, the penetration does not lead to an effective outcome. In the final sequence, a loose ball from a crossing situation was laid off with a chest pass to the number 10, positioned in a nearby free space. This movement drew one defender out before a quick return pass was played. The player receiving the return pass then attracted 4 defenders in a congested area, successfully creating space. At the right moment, the ball was played toward the edge of the penalty area, which ultimately led to a goal. In the end, these ball-drawing movements by individual players were crucial in creating space even inside a highly congested penalty area.